Hi, my name is Nick White. I'm a clinical psychologist working for Fareham and Gosport CAMS. Where did that come from? As a parent, as a young person, our behaviour can be very puzzling. It can come out of the blue. It can be something we simply don't understand why it's taken place. When we're trying to consider how to help someone with a behaviour or reaction which is challenging for them or challenging for the system around them, it can be important at first to play the detective, to try and make sense of what might lead up to something taking place. This can be very helpful in planning support for what happens now, but also building towards a plan for the future. From the top, what can be useful is to make use of an ABC chart. If you work in schools, as a young person again, or as a parent or a carer, you may have heard mention of behavioural charts, of behaviour logs, or you may have even heard the term ABC chart before. At a fundamental level, these types of charts are really a way of gathering crucial information to think about what might be influencing a behaviour taking place, and they come in three main parts. The aim is to understand the antecedents, the behaviours, and the consequences. So the what's happening before, the what the focus is, the behaviour, and also what might be happening afterwards to make the behaviour more likely. The what happens before is often called the setting event. So it's about considering what was happening, who was there, what was taking place, what was the building like, what was happening in the general social situation in which the behaviour occurred. This could include subtle information like noise, heat. It could include the demands being placed on a young person in a teaching situation, as a family. It can also be worth considering our own reactions and how they might influence what's taking place. The B is the behaviour. What is it that we see? What is it that we notice in terms of the reaction of the young person that we're trying to support? What is it we notice in terms of our reactions in a situation as a young person? What might we want to change? What puzzles us? What exactly happens? The more detail we can notice about a reaction, the better. What may look on the surface to be the same could very well at times be subtly different in ways that are important. The C is consequences. What follows the behaviour? What happens after the event that might make the behaviour more likely to happen again in the future? At first, it may be that there's an obvious reaction. So it may be that the behaviour is reinforced by a desire for something in particular. And people might think about primary reinforcers, so things like food, things like feelings of safety. However, there may also be more subtle reinforcers. Is the behaviour occurring because it gives an opportunity to escape from a situation, from a demand? Is the behaviour occurring because it gives credibility for the young person to those around them, gives them a social status to what's taking place? Rewards don't have to be obvious, but actually it's also important to consider that at times they could lead to risk-taking behaviours. So before we set out to try and support somebody or support ourselves to make the changes that are important to them or to us, it's incredibly important to have the information that's going to best inform our way of helping change take place. There are a huge range of ABC chart resources available online. So if you search for ABC charts behaviour, you'll find a great many examples. However, if you think about the A, the B, the C, all you need is a blank sheet of paper and 3 columns. What you would then find yourself doing is building up a huge and rich range of information over time. It's extremely helpful to then build up layers of information using an ABC chart over a period of time. Then you can sit down with the young person, or as a young person yourself, sit down with those supporting you, and as the detective, make sense of what information you have available to you over that period of time. What does it tell you about the things that you might like to change? However, what might it also tell us about what might need to change in the environment that you're in and in some of the ways in which others are reacting to you as well? And with that information, it gives you the best possible starting point to find the solution that works for you as an individual.